Good evening, everybody! Welcome to International Sim Racing Organization's 5th round of the 1991 F1 Series from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Cars are finishing their qualifying session. We'll be going to the warm-up briefly. I'm going to be joined in the booth by Alberto Ibañez shortly. I'm Jason White. I'm your play-by-play announcer for this race, as always. And let's take a look at the track map to start things off. As I said, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, which is essentially a street course, more or less, because there's very little runoff space. There are walls the whole way around. It's a man-made island just off of downtown Montreal in the St. Lawrence Seaway, and runs around a large lake. This version of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is 4.430 kilometers, or 2.753 miles. We'll be going 69 laps or 2 hours, whichever comes first, and that's just a little under 190 miles. So let's have a look at the qualifying results as we're just about finished here. And we can see that Pascal Mikola, it appears, will be on the pole unless anything changes in the next 57 seconds. Grant Riddall and David Jakes are second and third. That's the Brabham team. And then we have Gabriel Del Piccolo, who's now coming into the pits. He's had some scintillating drives in the Jordan, but has had a run of bad luck. Hopefully that will change. Dave Miller is fifth. Alberto Aquino is sixth. David Saber seventh. Adam Hackman is eighth in the Benetton. Ninth is Victor Alcacer. 10th, Anders Nilsson. He is now driving a LaRousse. He had that good drive in the Ligier Lamborghini last time out. Janik is 11th. Richard Wilkes 12th. Richard Coxon is 13th, who is our current series leader. Mick Chapman is 14th. Mick is driving the car that won this race in reality, Nelson Piquet's Benetton. 15th is Ray Riddall. 16th, Juha Boss. 17th, and making his ISO debut, Oscar Hardwick, driving the Modena Lamborghini. Bruno Chacon, 18th. 19th, Francois Remen. Tim Hilla in the other Lamborghini Modena is 20th. 21st, Timo Vermeer's 22nd. And on his last qualifying lap, Thiago Canola. And another newcomer to ISO, K.O. Michiels, is in the Coloni Ford, a car that's not very easy to drive, but it's good to see another new face here and another car in the grid that we don't normally see. So that's the way that they are in qualifying right now. And this should be a very exciting race because, well, for one thing, it's an interesting course. There's a lot of twists and bends. It's basically sprinting from one chicane to the next as Thiago Canola comes in to finish the session. We got zeros on the clock, so qualifying's over. And that means that, go back and look at the list, we can safely assume that Pascal has clinched the pole. It'll be interesting to see how he squares off against the two Brabhams. And Gabriel is also very fast. I think this is probably Gabriel's best qualifying result so far. But lots of really potent drivers up there at the top of the list, which is going to be really, really fun to watch. Let's take a moment and go through the points situation before we get too far into the warm-up here. Current championship standings after 4 rounds. Richard Coxon leads with 26 points. Pascal Mikola is in second with 14 points. Third is Richard Wilkes with 13 points. Fourth, Dave Miller with 10. And then Brian Janik enters the top 5 with 9 points. In the constructor standings, Scuderia Italia is still on top with 29 points. Then it's a second place tie between Minardi Team and Braun Tyrrell Honda with 16 points. Fourth is Leighton House Racing with 13 points, and then Canon Team Williams has 10. So still very early days in the championship, but I think it's fair to say that Coxon and Delara have really got everyone playing catch-up to start with. So we're going to wait for somebody to go on the track here, and then we'll get a nice clean lap of... there's the clock starting. So Let's see if anybody goes out to warm up the car. Obviously, warm-up is very, very critical for this race because when you're doing the qualifying, you have 12 laps to do qualifying in, and those are in and out laps too. So you have less fuel in the car than if you were doing a full race. So this next half hour is very important for everybody to learn how their car will behave on full tanks.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the late joining.
Oh, yes. Alberto, thanks very much. We were just explaining that this warm-up is very critical for the drivers because it's their chance to see how the car will perform on full tanks and in traffic. And tell us a little bit about... we had a look at the track earlier, but if you've got any points about Circuit Gilles Villeneuve map on the screen now, go ahead and share it with our viewers.
Yes, it's a track that is somehow very much like Monza in Europe, in that it's a very quick a very quick track. It has very quick sections that are interrupted by hairpins and by chicanes. As you can see, there is a bit of a more twisty section right after the straight finish line, but then afterwards it becomes very quick, only interrupted by chicanes and hairpins, and that means that the drivers are obviously going to have to go for low wings that give them enough top speed to score well in the quick sections and also to be able to overtake. But at the same time, they will be struggling for traction coming out of those slow corners. I have driven the track myself. I've been practicing a bit this week with one car to get a feel of it. And I can tell you that you can certainly floor the car when you're coming out of those slow corners, because otherwise the tail will be all over the place. And for overtaking, we will see probably most of the maneuvers will be going for the hairpin, and especially from the hairpin till the straight finish line. And that's very dangerous because there is a very, very fast chicane there, but it's the place where the cars will be going quickest. And the chicane entering the straight finish line is also very quick. So I imagine that the trick will be to follow the other car there and try to break into turn one, outbreak it, because that's a very slow one and it's a very safe place to overtake. The keys to the race, as Richard Coxon has already commented to us, will be that the brakes need very much care here, because it's obviously with this high speed and coming very hot into the turns, you will be giving them lots of abuse. So you have to take care of that. But traffic, fortunately, shouldn't be much of a problem here, because there are, as I said, ample areas to overtake. And even if it's a rather narrow track, but letting another car by is not that very difficult, except in that first twisty part that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I've been to this track myself. Once I went to the 1996 Canadian Grand Prix with my dad and my brother. And I've also visited this track when it's not in use. And it's funny because all the pit buildings and everything stay in place, and the barriers and everything all year round, and people just use it as a park during the year. So it's not unlike the situation on Belle Isle in Detroit. The only difference is that the bulk of the equipment stays in place all year round.
Right. But there is no housing around, right? I mean, no people live there.
Oh, no. They break up the track surface into lanes for bikes and walking and driving, and it's like, you can't horse around on the circuit.
Yeah, it's very much like a public park, right?
That's essentially what it is. And there's a casino on the island as well, and a couple of museums. There's that beautiful geodesic. Not geodesic, but it's that dome that Buckminster Fuller designed, which is like a biosphere. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the more unique venues in the F1 calendar. All right, so cars are going out now, so we'll have a chance here to see a full lap with somebody. And we got Tiago heading out on the track. As I mentioned last week, Tiago is now back in the States. He's not in Japan anymore. Here goes Tiago into the first and second turns, which are, nowadays these are known as the Senna S. Now he's on the backside of the course, heading into the first right-left chicane. Now heading through, oh goodness, more people joining. Another left-right combination chicane. Now heading down the backside of the course. You can see that there's Armco on both sides stacked 3 tall. So if you make any mistakes here, you're in big trouble. You have not much. There's a little bit of runoff here in this right-left chicane combination. Now we come down to the hairpin, which is going to be an excellent overtaking opportunity for everybody. Downshifting. And there is a bit of runoff there in case you get it wrong. Exiting. Now accelerating. Now this next section here, don't pay attention to those starting grid things because that's an older starting grid spot. This bit here, very, very fast, but you've got to do it exactly right. Now coming down to the last chicane before you start the lap. Right, left. All right, so now here we are onto the front straight. We're going to go for a flying lap with Thiago Canola. Start-finish line. Fading to the right slightly, then to the left, back to the right. The Senna S. Now we're on the back side of the course.
Yeah.
Through the left-right again. This is the place where Ivan Capelli crashed heavily one year. Another left and back to the right. You can see downtown Montreal just ahead. Accelerating hard again. This is another thing that to mention is going to be expecting maybe one pit stop. That's what we'll expect with these cars. Tire wear is going to be generally low. And the brake wear is going to be very high. Now coming down to the hairpin for a second time. Slowest part of the course, obviously. Accelerating out of the hairpin. Fading slightly to the left, back to the right. Here comes this really fast bit. And now down to the chicane, that will be one complete lap of Montreal. There we go. You can see some people getting off. I mean, that was, I believe, Jake's getting off on the gravel there slightly. So Alberto, tire wear is expected to be low on this circuit, but the funny thing is I watched the actual race a few nights ago, and one thing that they mentioned is that they had severe blistering issues with tires if people ran downforce that was too low on this circuit.
Yeah, well, I mean, tire wear is going to be low there are not many high-speed corners, that's right. But that doesn't mean that the tire isn't going to go through very, very important heat cycles because,
yes,
as you can imagine, the heavy braking puts a lot of stress. There is lots of wheel spin on the rears when coming out of the turns, and that heats the tires considerably. But then they cool down a lot when they are on the straights. And here, well, our game doesn't replicate that to 100%. I mean, the tire goes up and down in temperature, but there is no blistering as far as I can tell. However, in the real life cars, that's what happens because as soon as the car starts getting up to speed, the tires are exposed and they are very much cooled by the air. So they lose a lot of temperature, and then all of a sudden that rubber that is nearly cold because of the heavy wind, and this is not, even if it's usually in the spring or summer, this race, it isn't, well, it's quite chilled there in Canada. And therefore, what happens with the tire, with the rubber, is that it goes very, very, very quickly from too hot to too cold and backwards. And that puts a lot of stress and causes the blistering.
All right, well, cars are continuing their warm-up session. Let's talk about what's coming up soon at ISO. The COVID-19 virus may be able to stop real racing, but it does not stop ISO. Coming up Wednesday of this week, March 25th, rounds 11 and 12 of 16 from Malala Motorsport Park. This is the Australian Super Touring Championship. Check the forum for the actual event schedule, 2 races in that. And then next Sunday, oh boy, You know what's coming up, don't you, Alberto?
I do know.
It's the
right-hand
Trentonian
turn
200! We're turning left and right.
Yeah, the only right-hand turn that we will be doing in the whole season, I think.
Sunday, March 29th, green flag at 2000 CET, you'll see the debut of the Parnelli VPJ3. And this is a very challenging circuit, as we've mentioned before. Also, one programming note for our friends in the United States and Canada. This is when Europe goes on daylight saving time. So you're going to have to check your clocks if you're in the United States and Canada and readjust. We're going to go back to the 6-hour time difference if you're in the Eastern time zone. So something to keep in mind. I'm sure we'll put a post on Facebook about that just so everyone remembers. And then we have another round in our Lucas Vidra Trophy coming up on April 5th. And this is the 1997 AMP Bathurst 1000. Actually, truth be told, it's half the distance of the 1000. Just to accommodate drivers who won't be driving with other people that are doing it solo. But this is round 2 of the Lucas Vidra Trophy, and Mount Panorama is a circuit that everybody loves, and we'll be broadcasting that one live as well.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Yeah, so lots of fun stuff coming up. All right, so Alberto, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back after these messages. Don't go away.
While all engineers earn their degrees in school, ours are also graduates of a higher institution. Formula One Racing. Because those who learn to do it right in the first place have a tendency to finish there. The 1991 Acura Integra.
Introducing the Bud Light Jaguar Racing Team. Catch it this season. How do we get the truck back? Throw it in reverse.
Excuse me, sir. Why'd you get to know Geostorm?
Well, you just point it and it goes.
So it's a straight-ahead kind of car.
I don't know, it's got a few sexy curves.
So it's a well-rounded car?
Well, it's
Priced under 11 grand at your Chevrolet Geo dealers.
yeah, that too. Oh, sorry.
You want to see a new Geo turn really beautiful? Amazing. Unbelievable. You got to admit, that's a beautiful Geo. At your Chevrolet Geo dealer.
Oil. It's the lifeblood of your engine. That makes your oil filter your engine's most vital organ. That's why Fram keeps going the extra mile to make the best protection even better. Introducing the new Fram Extra Guard. New glass fiber paper stops more dirt than any other filter for the best protection ever. The new Fram Extra Guard. American or import, it's an extra lease on life.
In 1989, the Honda Accord was the best-selling car in America. Let us repeat that. In 1990, the Honda Accord was the best-selling car in America. Thank you.
The Van Pattens meet one tough customer.
Dick Van Patten, you're saying someone can oil and lube my car better than me?
Yes, it's called Jiffy Lube. In 10 minutes, the J-Team changes the oil with quality Pennzoil.
Here comes the Pennzoil.
Replaces the filter and lubes the chassis. Fills the fluids, 14 services in all.
Okay, but how much?
So
welcome
to Jiffy Lube.
We'll take care of you. like family.
J-Team, this looks like the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Pennzoil, at home in America. Indy racing, off-road racing, drag racing. We've been driving a long time to get to this one. NASCAR USA. Pennzoil is there. We've got the car. We've got the team. We've got the driver.
And if they got the oil, Pennzoil.
Pennzoil. Ever since America learned to drive.
A company can learn a lot in 125 years. Valvoline has. You learn in the lab, you learn on the road, you learn on the racetrack. As you learn, you make your product better. And better, and better. Today's Valvoline will keep your engine cleaner than ever before. And cleaner means more protection against engine wear. 125 years of quality. That's why people who know use Valvoline.
That's Farfignugan, and the Volkswagen Jetta has plenty of it, let me tell you. I'm talking about crisp European handling, brisk acceleration, room for 5 adults, not to mention the huge trunk. Don't take my word for it, although I am a professional. Sample some Farfignugan in a Jetta today. Farfignugan, it's what makes a car a Volkswagen.
Welcome back. As we're watching the warm-up continue here, here's U-Haul Boss and his McLaren with David Jakes right behind him. These two practicing running close together. This is going to be definitely close quarters battle today, Alberto.
Sorry, Jason was solving a technical problem. You ask it?
Oh, just saying it's going to be a lot of close quarters battle today.
Yeah, I think that this is a track that will be a bit of an equalizer between certain cars. Because there are many that are somehow sharing the engine. For example, I think you get there the list of engine power for different cars. And you see that there are several, like 4 or 5 model of cars that are in the same bracket of 600 to 650 horsepower.
Yeah, we're going to be going through that as necessary. If we come up with matchups, it'll be a good way of gauging everything. One important update that we do have with the Jordan team is that the team is receiving an upgraded HBA5 Ford engine, which is the same engine spec that Benetton uses. And that's a significant upgrade for Jordan. And if you remember, in the actual Canadian Grand Prix in '91, they had a fantastic race. They finished 4th and 5th, respectively.
Yes, and that's because being a powered truck, obviously, that extra power won't hurt. So Gabriele Del Piccolo, we already see him there in the top 5, making good use of that extra power. And I would expect him to be there right at the end.
I would say so, yeah.
I think maybe I'm the only one, but I see a bit of lag in some cars.
I don't know. They seem to be okay to me.
Okay. Must be me then.
There's Grant Riddall overtaking K.O. McKeels. And we mentioned before, Grant has not had great luck in this series, but maybe today will be his day.
It could be. He has been very quick in practice. But we'll see. I mean, so far for him, the real problem has not been paid, but being able to finish the race. We'll see. Going to leave the server for a moment for a technical thing and be back in a moment.
Okay. Here's KO making his ISO debut this evening. He's driving the Coloni. Oh! little bit of a bobble there. This is not a very advanced car. It's using the very outdated Ford engine. DFR, I believe. But, I don't know. It could be a attrition race, so if he hangs in there, who knows? He might come up with a good result. Timo is also back with us in the other Lotus. Oh, goodness. Look at this gaggle of cars coming at us. Lots of people... This was the car that actually won the race in 1991. Mick Chapman was driving PK's Benetton. This was also PK's last win. So, we've done races in the past where the car that actually won is not even in the race, which is a bummer, but I'm glad that Mick is here to drive this car. And we have just one Minardi on the grid today. David Yunt has not been able to race again this Sunday, so I'm not sure what that's going to do to the Minardi team as far as their who's going to be in the team. It certainly won't help the points situation for them. And Bruno Chacon going around in the Williams. This is another guy who is very good in attrition races. See how he does. So we got about 8 minutes to go until the race begins. One thing that we did not talk about yet is the trivia question.
User left your channel.
I believe that was Alberto. He's working on technical issues on his end. But I'll give you the ooh as Grant just strikes the wall coming out of the final turn. Here is the trivia question for this evening. Stefan Johansson drove in place of which driver for the 1991 Canadian Grand Prix? Was it A, Michele Alboreto, B, Alex Caffey, or C, Julian Bailey? We'll have the answer later on in the broadcast. So looking
User
one more...
joined your channel.
Is that you, Alberto?
Jonatan.
Oh, it's Jonathan. How are you doing?
Pretty well. Just had a dinner, and now I will try to join the server. Otherwise, I'm good. What about you?
I'm good. Are you driving, or are you just hanging in the booth with us?
I'll probably try to help out with the broadcast.
Oh, that's
wherever
very...
and however I can help out.
That's very kind of you. Did you happen to watch the CBC broadcast that I turned you on to?
Yeah, I did. I did give that a quick watch.
It's pretty hilarious because
it was.
Yeah.
Deary me.
The play-by-play guy for CBC was Brian Williams, who usually does the Olympics for CBC and a few other things. He did football and baseball, but the funny thing about Brian Williams is he wasn't really a dyed-in-the-wool racing fan or didn't know much about the thing, so he had Jackie Stewart as his color commentator, and Jackie had his hands full making sure that he identified cars correctly and indeed called people by their actual name. I think he said Ayrton Prost at one point.
Yeah.
So it was rather amusing, but no. Seriously speaking, Brian Williams is a first-rate play-by-play guy. He's done a lot of great calls over the years. He also did IndyCar racing, but it's hard to be an expert at all sports.
Very much so.
So I know you've been following this series rather loosely, but Pascal's got another pole position under his belt today, and he's got the Brabham team starting right behind him of Grant Riddall and David Jakes, and they've both proven to be very fast. The problem has been of finishing with them. And Pascal, to be fair, has been very quick, but he's also been prone to accidents and setbacks.
Yeah, I think in terms of the Benetton teams, I think that's also partly down to the car. From what the little bit of driving I've done, it's a pretty temperamentful car.
Yeah, pretty. It's not an easy car to drive, that's for sure. It's easily one of the heaviest cars on the grid because of that stupid, well, not stupid, but just it's an overweight engine the Yamaha V12. And here's, we'll talk about briefly the people who are joining us for the first time as ISO racers. Oscar Hardwick, who we've raced with in other leagues before. He's making his ISO debut tonight. And, oh goodness, made a rather quick entry into the pits there. In the Modena Lamborghini, he's teaming with Tim Hillett for this race. And the other driver that's new to this series and new to the league, if I can find him, here he is, K.O. McHeels in the Coloni. So, I mean, that's another car that's not easy to drive.
Well, to be fair, the Coloni is actually pretty nice to drive. The lack of power is what really.
Okay, it's hard to drive fast.
Yes, that's pretty much yes the situation, so to speak. But to be fair, the handling of that car ain't bad. It's just that compared to the more updated machinery, so to speak, with slightly more BHP engines and better aerodynamics and all that kind of stuff, it just struggles a little bit. Just like the Modena, to be fair, it probably had the least powerful engine in the field, and well, maybe not. It was fairly powerful, but the chassis itself, I think, was like 150 kilos or something more than pretty much anyone else in the field.
Good grief.
Yes, I believe we are now joined by our actual guru, Alberto Ibañez.
Not as much as guru. Yeah, I'm back. I was here before. I had to go solve some technical issues because Little Al couldn't connect properly. You see that he's already joined. But well, he had to pass on the warm-up. But it's solved now.
Oh, we're getting lots of love for Oscar on our YouTube channel. So he's a popular. He's making a popular debut this evening. As he heads back out in the track, let's ride on board with him for a minute because this is one of the best sounding cars.
Yeah, Oscar is making his debut with us, and pay attention because he's a very, very quick driver. I know him already from another league, and well, he's blistering fast when he's really at it. So,
God, could we
even
actually
if he's in a bad car, but don't let that fool you, because he will be able to, for sure, battle with all the cars around and overtake many.
Yeah, that Modena. We'll see if he can do anything with it. Has that beautiful sounding Lambo V12, but not very powerful. And very heavy.
It is, yes. Quite overweight.
So I think we have another race here with no footworks, no AGSs in this race either. So, but it's still a healthy field. I think we have 23 cars.
Is it still possible to join as a driver?
Yeah.
Well then, since the footwork haven't been out at all, I may as well offer up myself, I suppose, even though I will probably struggle a lot.
Is that within the rules, Alberto, you think?
Yeah, I think so, though it's only 1 minute to join there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to really huff it.
Then it's done. I can't join that quickly. Still sorting out the updated mod, which I seem to not have on my computer, unfortunately.
Oh, well, shoot. All right, so 50 seconds to go. Let's remind everybody of the contest tonight. 69 laps of 2 hours at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It's a 2.753-mile circuit on a man-made island in the St. Lawrence Seaway. Ha, 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 ha.
It's also, I must say, here in Automobilista, a beautiful recreation of it. Yeah. I love the shaders for the water and all that.
And talking about beautiful recreations, wait until you see Alberto's Trenton next Sunday. It looks really, really good. Far more accurate and just beautifully modeled. I cannot wait to turn 134 laps on that circuit.
Well, thank you. I've also heard from another mother whom I showed the track that it was probably our best so far. I don't think that's the case, but it's well, they're willing to reward a bit the effort that I put into it. But I prefer to call it like 0.9 because I tend to keep watching things I'd like to add. But yeah, very much.
Is that why you
I'm
keep them at
proud of it.
0.9? Okay, now I know why. All right, cool. All right, we should be going to the race session in a second here. Waiting for the server to click over. Thanks to everyone for tuning in on YouTube. I know everybody's in a lot of parts of the world are stuck at home and they're concerned about the coronavirus, and we're all really frightened about that. But give yourself permission to forget about that for a couple hours and enjoy some first-class sim racing here at ISO. All right, 69 laps in front of us.
Cars going for the grid now. Pole position man is already there. And hopefully, this should be a clean start. And I'm saying hopefully, because you never know. But as you can see, the run till turn 1 is really short. And then it's a very low speed turn. So even if there is some contact there, because it's a bit like wide and cars may try to take different lines, hopefully it shouldn't be anything damaging or race crippling. But yeah, cars lining up, big grid, nice to see.
All right, so go through the grid as soon as they take off on the parade lap. Well, formation recon lap is more like it.
Yep.
All
Let's
right.
hope that nobody cooks the engine this time in the grid.
Yeah, we don't want any barbecues. All right, off we go. All right, on the pole, Pascal Mikola, Tyrrell Honda 020. Second is Grant Riddall, Brabham Yamaha BT60Y. Third, David Jakes, Brabham Yamaha BT60Y. Fourth, Gabriel Del Piccolo, Jordan Ford J191. Fifth, Dave Miller, Williams Renault FW14. Sixth, Alberto Aquino, McLaren Honda MP4/6. Seventh, David Saber in the Ferrari 642. Eighth, Adam Hackman, Benetton Ford B191. Ninth, Victor Alcacer in the other Tyrrell Honda. 10th, Anders Nilsson in a LaRousse Ford LC91. 11th, Brian Janik, Minardi Ferrari M191. 12th, Richard Wilkes, Leighton House Ilmore CG911. 13th, Richard Coxon, our series leader, Delara Judd D191. 14th, Mick Chapman in the car that won the race in real life, Benetton Ford B191. 15th, Ray Radal, Delara Judd D191. 16th, Juha Boss in the other McLaren. 17th, Oscar Hardwick, Modena Lamborghini 291. 18th, Bruno Chacon in the other Williams Renault. 19th, Francois Remin in the other LaRousse. 20th, Tim Hilla in the other Modena. 21st, Timo Vermeersch in the Lotus Judd 102B. And in the second Lotus Judd is Thiago Canola. And rounding out the field, K.O. Michiels in the Coloni Ford C4. That's your
thing
grid.
I think we haven't talked about much, but it's the starting position of people like, for example, Richard Coxon, who is in the lead for the championship, is not exactly the best one. We'll see what happens, but it's never good to start there in the middle of the pack. And, well, this all will give wings to Pascal Mikula. With his pace, if he's able to make it cleanly past turn 1, there's a good chance that he will be opening a big gap there. We'll see. Gabriele Del Piccolo is also there in the high position, same as Dave Miller. But it's a bit worrying for Richard Coxon to be that far back. We'll see how it all pans out. Same for Juha Boss, who should usually be closer to the top, and Brian Janik. It's very uncharacteristic of them, but probably they had problem with traffic, finding the gap to do the quick lap.
Cars now arriving at the grid. Pascal pulling up to his grid slot. Immediately behind him, David Jakes. To Pascal's left is Grant Riddall. Pascal adjusting his car slightly. He wants to get off of that grid as quickly as possible. 69 laps in front of us, or 2 hours. We're probably going to get in those 69 laps without hitting the time limit. And we've got starters orders. Everyone stand by. for the Molson Grand Prix de Canada. And the race is underway! Pascal gets a really good getaway. Down into the S for the first time. Pascal Mikola leads. Grant Ridal second. Gabriel Del Piccolo is up to third. David Jakes is down to fifth now. Alberto Aquino is in sixth. Seventh, David Sabre.
And Richard also made a blistering start. Look at him. He's there right behind David Sabre. And with him, he brought Richard Wilkes. So that's a good start for both of them.
Oh, and unfortunately, further back in the field, the McLaren of Juha Boos is in trouble. Looks like he has both steering damage and a lost front wing from the opening few corners.
Meanwhile, Grant Ridal is already having a look at Pascal Mikola as they go into the next chicane. Now they're heading down to a very good overtaking spot at the hairpin, and Grant is very definitely on the attack. He wants that first place. Hairpin for the first time. Accelerating out, Pascal leads. Grant Ridal is in second. Gabriel Del Piccolo third. Dave Miller fourth. David Jakes is fifth. And Alberto Aquino is in sixth place. Sabre in seventh. As they come through this very fast section. Now back onto the main straight to complete one lap is our leader, Pascal Mikola. Grant Ridal in second. So Pascal successfully defended himself for one lap.
And the driver's actually in trouble here, heading for the pits is Brian Yannick with no front wing. That was off the start. I noticed Alcocer more or less stalled off the start. Brian Yannick had nowhere to go.
also in the pits already.
Yes, Juha's in the pits to replace that front wing.
And Tim Hill is on his way as well.
Yes. And Francois Remen's out.
Janik is also in the pits, so
what happened to Francois Remen, because he was running perfectly
Trying to
well.
find out.
My goodness, so we have a total of 4 cars in the pits right now trying to repair.
Looks like a disconnection for Francois.
Oh, goodness, that's rotten luck. Yeah, Remen is out of the race. So we have 1 retirement so far,
But
3 cars in the pits.
Slowing down considerably. I see his car in the replay slowing very slow there coming to the chicane. Maybe he had a flat spot.
As Dave Miller goes up the inside of Gabriel Del Piccolo and picks up 3rd place. A fantastic overtaking maneuver.
Oh, and Grant there.
Very close.
On Pascal.
Grant very close to Pascal. Here he comes into the last chicane. But Pascal's doing a great job holding off. You can see Grant, they're going onto the grass a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. I mean, this is a circuit that really demands your attention. And as we look further back here, Del Piccolo just ahead of David Jakes.
Oh, we have a big off in the last corner here. Oh, that's David Sabre in the Ferrari.
Juha Boss is also against the fence and out of the race. So whatever, oh my goodness, yes, Ferrari parts all over the place. See if we can find, I'm looking for...
Oh. David Sabre got passed by Richard Coxon in the last chicane there, and David trying to tuck back in behind him, got a bit of oversteer, and car just snapped on him, and he went off, unfortunately. Right out into the Wall of Champions, as it would later be known.
Oh, goodness.
Well, that's unfortunate. Since Mike Olson couldn't take part today, that means there's no Ferrari any longer in the grid.
We're about to complete lap number 3 out of 69. Pascal Mikola leads. Grant Ridal is in second. Dave Miller is third. Gabriel Del Piccolo is fourth. 5th is David Jakes. 6th is Alberto Aquino. 7th, Richard Coxon. 8th, Richard Wilkes. 9th, Anders Nilsson. And rounding out the top 10 is Ray Ridal.
And Mick Chapman just got passed by Oscar Hardwick. And now Mick Chapman is returning him the favor in the straight. Very good move into the
chicane. Yes. Mick Chapman. Oh, and here comes Oscar Hardwick looking on the inside, but he thinks better of it going into this.
Tim Hille seems to be out of the race too.
Oh, because Tim Hille did go to the pits.
He was running with damage already, and it looks like the car just wasn't handling to where it needed to be here. Same for you, Boss.
That's too bad because it's understandable that they can fix some things in the pits in this mod, but not everything. And I'm sure those cars must have been crabbing after the start.
Grant still there looking to move past Pascal. I don't know. There he goes. Pascal did put
on the
much of
outside.
resistance.
He briefly has the lead, but it looks like Pascal. No, there he goes. Grant Riddall takes the lead.
No. Pascal didn't put much resistance. I think that Pascal is trying to look at this with a cool head and says, "Well, be my guest. I mean, go ahead and let's see how quick you can go."
Well, that would be very much against type for Pascal. And no, here he comes up the inside. Oh, slight contact there, but Pascal goes back in the lead. He ran up on the curb there slightly. And here comes Grant back, taking the lead again. Fantastic racing. Down into the Senna S again. Pascal's got a little bit of purchase on the outside, but oh, and goodness, look who's coming up to join the battle and actually make some contact. Dave Miller in the Williams Renault. Mrs. Dave is watching on YouTube. Her man is currently in third and looking at Pascal and Grant Riddall right ahead of him.
Yeah, I think this is what Pascal was fearing. I mean, when Grant overtook and Pascal saw that he had not real top speed there in the straight, but it was just because he had been in the slipstream. Probably Pascal got a bit anxious knowing that Dave Miller is not too much far behind. Probably he will try to let now Grant lead for a while and see what goes on, but if he feels pressured by, well, the trio that is following them, Miller, Del Piccolo, Yates, then I'm sure that he will try to make a move there. Whoops. I don't think that was an attempt to pass. Probably what happened here is that Grant braked earlier than Pascal expected. And Richard Carlson has also passed meanwhile Little Al and is in 6th position.
Oh, look at this. Dave Miller up the inside here, having a look, but decides better not to
and
do
Richard
that.
Richard Wilkes also getting very close to Little Al, trying to move them to make his move there.
Oh my goodness, yes. Looks up the inside and takes the position. Oh, Anders Nilsson almost contacting Little Al as well. Now it's Anders' turn to see if he can handle up Little Al. In the
I know that Little Al's strategy, he doesn't want to really put a fight at the beginning of the race. He's okay with anybody who wants passing because the McLaren has a very thirsty engine, so he has, I believe, something about 20 to 30 more liters of fuel on board than the rest of the grid. So he knows he has a very heavy car in the beginning of the race and doesn't want to destroy his tires and brakes, so he's not going to be involved in stupid fights that will only mean for him a risk of losing the car.
And a bit further back still, looks like Hardwick and Hackman are still running very closely together here. Clearly Hackman has an advantage on the straights, but Oscar's doing a very good job in that Modena, sitting in 13th at the moment.
Oh boy.
And Pascal Mikula recovered the lead.
Yep.
He passed Grant Riddle. Grant is behind, and I'm not sure what's going to happen here because Grant is not the kind of guy who wants to be looking at the car in front. But then again,
neither
I think
is Pascal.
It should be clear by now to Grant that Pascal has a better pace. He has already shown that he can win races. And it would be, I believe, quite unwise to try to put pressure on him. And instead, if you let Pascal run and just try to follow his rhythm, I'd say it's very probable that they would be able to make a distance. And I'd say that Dave Miller has fallen already a bit behind. And probably what's going on here, the biggest difference, that what's really making nervous both Pascal and Grant, is that they both have very different driving styles, and I know they have very different setups. Grant is using less gears than Pascal and is trusting on a very quick corner velocity speed. He tries to go through the corners quicker, whereas Pascal is relying more in acceleration. And that means that even if they do the same total lap time when they go past the start-finish line, they are quicker on different parts of the track, which means they are hampering each other if they are driving too close.
Looking now at 11th place battle between Victor Alcacer and Mick Chapman. Mick came very close to overtaking Victor at the hairpin, but had to back off just slightly. But
and Richard Coxon is already right behind David Jakes. This is a group that will be in a very hard fight in some moments, because I think Gabriele either he's not able to pass Dave Miller and is hampered by that, or it's simply that the other cars have more pace, but it's doing a bit of a bottleneck there.
Yep. It's amazing to me how quickly Richard has risen from his lowly qualifying position. That was, I mean, he had a fantastic start, as you pointed out, and now he's up to 6th place. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's challenging for the lead before the end of this race.
Adam Hackman in the pits now. Sorry to interrupt you. Not
That's
sure
right.
what's going on here.
He slammed the outside barrier in the same place that Saber did earlier in the race.
That's going to drop Adam all the way down to
They're
18th
already
place.
lapping some cars.
Here's Chapman again, working on Victor Alcacer, but just can't quite get on the inside. That Honda engine, very powerful.
Well, he should have a good run here. Oh, he's really at it here.
Yeah, so it looks like things have settled down at the front to some extent.
Oh.
Just to keep you updated on the top of the race, Pascal Mikula is settled into his rhythm and is now starting to break away slowly from Grant Ridal, who is in turn also keeping his distance with Dave Miller. It's now David Jakes who is getting anxious by being boxed behind
Gabriel Del Piccolo.
Gabriel Del Piccolo and trying to... Coxon is coming.
Okay. It's going to be... It's interesting because one wonders, because Del Piccolo's been very quick so far. Do you think he's holding up David Jakes in this situation?
I think he's holding up David Jakes. I also think that the reason is not that he is unable to go quicker. We all know that he's a very quick driver, but that he has already been burned, if you see what I mean, in that he knows that if he unfolds all his speed, the car may not be able to make it till the end. I can see the brakes, for example, he's now in the straight and the brakes are constantly glowing there. I mean, he knows if he's pushing the car too much, he will be running out of brakes, and he doesn't want, again, the same thing as at Imola to happen to him.
The other thing that these drivers have to be thinking of in the back of their minds is preserving the brakes. Because it's just, you know, we've seen what happens when you run out of brakes at other circuits, like one that comes to mind is Imola. The driver that's just in front of our camera view here, Del Piccolo, he had a very disastrous end to the San Marino Grand Prix because his brakes just basically gave up. So
yeah, and he doesn't want that to happen again, so
no.
He's probably driving conservatively. I know that he has put a lot of laps in practice. He's very enthusiastic there. He's one of those persons that you always find there in the server doing hundreds of laps and testing all combinations. He has really that Formula One spirit, you know. He's a guy that really takes this very seriously, both in terms of setting up the car and putting practice.
There's Bruno Chacon with a front wing that's missing, so he's going to the pits.
Yeah, him and Vermeersch got together in. That would be the second chicane, I think, that would count as.
Yes, Timo was trying to overtake Bruno already for some time, and apparently at some point, it went wrong.
Well, Timo, at least on my screen, is showing a clean car, so he may get away with that one, but unfortunately Bruno wasn't so lucky. He is now in the pits.
Yeah, it looked like one of those interlocked tires kind of situations.
And Hackman retired finally. Seems to see the car in the garage there. Yeah, this is a track that will have very high attrition because both in terms of mechanical failures and because of the sheer speed and the walls that are enclosing it all the time mean that if you are out, it's most than likely that you're going to get stuck against the wall. So expect to see very few cars finishing here.
And that would play right into the hands of those who have cars that aren't necessarily the quickest. But I agree with Alberto that this track is a bit of an equalizer compared to other tracks.
Oh, Richard Coxon passed David Jacks.
He did. So Coxon's now up to 5th, and he's going to be in pursuit of Gabriel Del Piccolo, who's a little further up the road.
And Anders Nilsson is now trying to make his pass on Little Al, but the power of the McLaren of the Honda engine.
Oh no, he's in the draft, yeah.
At all.
Oh, yep, here they come out of the last corner, and Anders is right with him. This is going to be interesting.
I think it's close enough. He will.
Yeah,
go
he's
for it,
looking on the inside, but I don't think he's got enough room. No, he's going to tuck back inside, try for another lap. This is the only McLaren that's running right now.
And Anders a experienced driver here, so he won't do anything drastic, I don't think.
No,
He'll
I
take
don't
his
think
time.
he will.
No, but look at that. I mean, in the quick section, it's obvious that there is a big power advantage in favor of the Honda.
Yeah,
Though, as
absolutely.
I said already, it comes at the cost of a way higher fuel consumption. So until until we have mid-race or something like that, we won't be able to see Little Al really pushing it, because he really fears that with all that extra weight, he's going to destroy the tires and the brakes if he tries to go quicker.
I'm sure both of them are enjoying this either way.
So it'll be interesting now to see how quickly Cox can reel in Del Piccolo, because he is definitely on the move. And you see just ahead of Coxon here, you see Del Piccolo. Oh, and there's a car. Oh, yeah, it's Timo coming out of the pits. Fortunately, in a not too awkward of a spot. He's going to allow Richard by here in the S-curve. Now heading up the hill to the backside of the course. You see Del Piccolo just ahead, and Dave Miller in 3rd place. So that's those are the next targets for Richard Coxon.
It's good to see that Bruno Chacon is out of the pits again. Looks like his car is more or less whole.
Yeah, but it's cost him dearly. He's down in 18th place now. To recap where we are in the top 10, Pascal Mikola leads. Grant Riddall is in 2nd. Dave Miller is 3rd. Gabriel Del Piccolo is 4th. You're riding with Richard Coxon, who is 5th. David Jakes is 6th. 7th is Richard Wilkes. 8th, Alberto Aquino. 9th, Anders Nilsson, and Ray Riddall is 10th.
And for the record, Richard Coxon is lapping like 0.5 of a second quicker than Gabriele Del Piccolo.
All right, well...
it's a matter of time until he reaches him, and then we see what happens.
He's also got David Jakes not really losing much ground to him. So if something goes wrong when Coxon tries to overtake Del Piccolo, David Jakes could be the benefactor. We'll see. And Del Piccolo is staying in the shadow of Dave Miller pretty well. He's not dropping back too much despite the pace that the kind of conservative pace he's running. And Grant Riddall, to be fair, is not really out of sight too much of Pascal Mikola.
No, I've been watching the lap times in the table, and Grant is able to put even quicker laps than Pascal Mikola. The thing is that Pascal is being absolutely constant, which is probably because he's in the lead and has an open road in front of him. Grant is still playing a bit of catch-up game, but if he wants, he can be quicker than Pascal, though it's also fair to say that Pascal is probably settling on a rhythm that allows him to be quick but not destroy the car. So...
On board once again with Richard Coxon. And they see that green arrow pointing up in 8 next to his name. That means he's up 8 places from the start. Fantastic.
And on a side note, I'm watching Brian Yannick, and after his damage early on in the race, his afterburners is on. He's gaining 2.5 seconds on Oscar Hardwick at the moment per lap.
Well, we'll have to keep a close eye on that fight as well. Yeah, Coxon flying for sure. And it looks like David Jakes has lost a bit of ground also to Coxon in that lap.
Yeah, David Jakes was quite puzzled about his combination of bad luck and inability to finish the previous races, and I think that he has learned the lesson well. And I talked with him the other day in TeamSpeak, and he agreed that what he really needed was to finish the race and feel again like getting into the groove with this. So I know he will be looking today to preserve the car and just see where he is at the end and see if he's being completely conservative, what does that give to him. And well, at the present moment, he is in 6th position. He will be in the points-paying position. But I suspect that he will be saving the best for the end. I mean, he's going to do the strategy that we tend to follow when we do in the USAC, the 500 milers, which is, first of all, do half the race, and then past half the race, go racing.
Yeah. So we're riding now with Del Piccolo, and just for the comparison of horsepower here, the Ford engine that Del Piccolo is running is the this is the 700 horsepower variety one, I believe, 705, because of the engine upgrade. And the Dallara is running an engine that has 640 horsepower, the Judd engine. So Coxon has a disadvantage in terms of power, but racecraft definitely and experience are on Coxon's side here, I believe.
Yeah, well, he was lapping already below 23 seconds in 22.9, which means he was getting close very quick. And knowing how Richard is a very, very thinking driver, I'm guessing that he's basically doing a sprint, and once he arrives there, he will probably be taking a rest, preserving the tires, studying Gabriel Del Piccolo, and then he will try to make his move when he sees the opportunity. If you have a good rhythm, passing the first cars, it's normally not too complicated because they are slower than you. But once you start getting up in the grid, well, you are already meeting people that are quicker. So passing is no longer that easy.
Looking further back in the field, Anders Nilsson is still right with Alberto Aquino. Looking for a way by, but of course, as you've mentioned already, as he late breaks into the corner, that Honda engine takes off like a rocket. There he goes. You hit the throttle, it's instant power. So,
yeah, it must be very frustrating for Anders Nilsson because, just for the record, I mean, his quickest lap so far, he did it this last one, probably trying to get closer to Little Al, and it was 124.3. Whereas in the case of Little Al, it was 124.7. So Anders is definitely quicker at this point of the race. But he only can do the quick laps to get close. And then if he isn't able to pass, well, that's very frustrating.
Well, Little Al seems to be in good form, nevertheless. How much time has he been able to devote to driving with, well, I guess with COVID-19, he's not in school technically, right?
Yeah, we had holidays here last week anyway. School holidays because it was that local celebration here, the famous Fallas in Valencia.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but, well, nevertheless, it was a bit hectic, a bit irregular while we were, organizing all the lockdown here. But, yeah, I mean, he has put some practice, not as Gabriele Del Piccolo, for example, who is always constantly lapping. I guess he's also locked there in Italy. Our thoughts are with our Italian friends because they are enduring far the hardest part of this. But yeah, I mean, he was able to practice a bit. Though I know that this is not his favorite track either. But like I said, he's basically taking things calmly because he doesn't want to destroy tires or brakes.
And Nilsson hanging right with him. But yeah, this very frustrating situation, I think, for Nilsson from a driving point of view.
Well, in this last lap, for example, Little Al matched the best lap from Anders. So it's, like I said, he will be progressively going quicker as the fuel load goes down.
Oh, and there's been an incident here, wheels and for carbon fiber and stuff. I'll try to see who that may have been.
That was Victor Alcocer. He's...
Oh dear.
Oh my goodness, yeah, he had a big accident coming out of the hairpin, it looks like. Let's run back here and see what happened. My goodness. Yeah, wheels flying.
We tried to go around one of the other drivers. I couldn't quite see. I think that was a Lotus.
It was Timo Vermeers.
Timo tried to get out of the way, but
he
touched the grass, I think.
He got a wheel in the grass and that spun the car around, and then he backed into the barrier.
That chicane, that very quick chicane is really dangerous. I mean, it's blind. You don't have a clear view of it when you're going into it, and it's, well, you see what happens. It's very dangerous.
And prior to that, Mick Chapman had dispensed with Victor and is up to 11th place. I would venture to say that Chapman's a guy that we'll probably see in the top 6 by the end if attrition continues at the clip that it's at. Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, it's I think it's interesting. You watch the top 6, you see how they're driving, even more than just the top 6, like the top 8 or 9. Drivers are very keen, I'm thinking, to not overuse the car early. There's a lot of cautious driving right now. Would you agree, Alberto?
Yes, because this is a very dangerous track, so people are certainly not going to do any stupid move. Well,
Brian Yannick can now see Oscar Hardwick in front of him. He's within 2 seconds, so give him one more lap and he'll be in striking distance.
With that Ferrari engine. And those of you who watched the Monaco Grand Prix remember that poor Brian Janik didn't even get past the first corner because his car had overheated and the engine expired. But here he is now on lap 19 out of 69, and he is stalking Oscar Hardwick in his Modena Lamborghini. So it's two Italian engines squaring off here, both 12 cylinders.
Whereas we should mention there is another debutant, Caio Michels, who is driving that Colony Ford, and while he is already 2 laps down because he's driving cautiously, he's doing a fine job so far. I haven't seen him do any contact or having any problems so far.
Caio Michels from Belgium, like our friend Juha Boss.
And Timo.
And Timo, that's true.
Well, I think Oscar is in grave danger here.
Yeah, he is. Definitely, Brian is. Oh, and he just motors on by before the chicane. Good grief! There wasn't even an opportunity for.
Brian.
Oh goodness! Oh goodness! Oscar is counterattacking here, and he might get by into the first turn. He does. Oscar takes the position back because Brian had a kind of a sloppy exit from the final turn there. But I think it's only a matter of...
He's a very talented driver.
Yeah, he is.
The handicap of the low-power Lamborghini engine, he's certainly going to put a fight. And Brian must be frustrated because he knows he has more pace, and he probably wasn't expecting that comeback.
Well, he's gonna take another shot here, I'm sure, before this lap is over, as he's right underneath Oscar's rear wing. My goodness, we're working lap 20 out of 69 right now. This is a battle for 13th place.
Well, this will be basically a delay for Brian Janik, because he knows that when they go past a hairpin into the quickest section of the track, Oscar is going to fall into his clutches very quickly.
Brian missed a gear there.
Yeah.
West Hardwick goes deep.
Yeah, it does, but now looking from the chopper shot.
Here is the best opportunity that Janik will have. Probably
very, very best.
It will take him up until coming to the last chicane, but yeah, there you go. He's closing by, but this chicane is dangerous, so it should be going now into turn 1. Oh, Brian is already in the grass.
This is a great fight.
Defense by Oscar Hardwick.
Oscar holds the inside. Oh, goodness. Oh, there's slight contact there.
Yeah, that was too optimistic from Brian Janik, but Oscar rightfully gave him enough room there. And I guess with Oscar, that's what you can expect. I mean, if you want to pass, you will have to earn it.
Oscar's also racing in USAC with us next Sunday. He's going to be driving, I believe, one of the RAS cars.
Yes, the RAS car Atlanta.
Well, another maybe not the most fantastic car in that mod either, but certainly a good entry level, I would say, for that particular series.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, but Anders
Oh,
has
goodness!
been able to pass it aloud.
Janik just overhauled. I think what might have happened there is that Oscar missed a gear because he gave up way too easily coming out of that corner.
It must have been, because it looked like he just stopped in the middle of the track, more or less.
Solid Alal is down to 9th now, and Bright Rival is closing on him.
Oh, and here comes the leader, Pascal Mikkel, up to these two as well. So, while these guys are fighting hard and fair, Pascal Mikkel is flying at the front of the field.
Yep.
And David Yates is now getting closer to Richard Coxon, who has been stuck behind Gabriele Del Piccolo all this time. Like I said, Richard was cooling off things, he was not pushing it, but now that he's feeling the pressure from Jax, he's getting close to Gabriele Del Piccolo. He probably will be trying to make his move, catching Del Piccolo unaware, because we've mentioned that already in previous races, that one of the marks of the greatest races is that they are able to do a very important change in rhythms, and that without losing focus of crashing. And it's something that is, people might not think about it as something so difficult, but I can assure you that it is, because you have to do, everything is completely different, like your braking points, the points when you accelerate, you shift gears, everything changes when you make a change of rhythm of just half a second, but that's enough many times to catch the car in front unaware and be able to overtake. And I think that with Jake's approaching now, Richard is trying to do that on Gabriele, who is now responding.
Yeah, this is going to get this could get very combustible very soon here, as Coxon has a peek up the inside, but Del Piccolo streaks away.
Yeah, there's a power advantage in favor of Del Piccolo. Plus, I should say that Gabriele is also one of the drivers that masters better the low wing setups, which means that he's then almost impossible to overtake.
Oh! Coxon strikes the outside wall.
Yeah, he had a bit of aero washout, I think, because that chicane was very quick and he was close enough to Gabriele.
That was, oh my goodness, and he power slides into the S. Hopefully that didn't cause any serious damage to the car, but yes, that was absolutely power washout. It's a good analysis. As Oscar makes room for this group, my goodness, lots of dust up here. Somebody must have clipped the grass. And now Coxon is right with...
Hang on, because Frank Riddle is our new leader. Pascal Mikula just lost the front wing.
Oh, no! Let's look at a replay here to see what happened. He's going... Oh, he lost it. He lost his front wing when he was putting a lap on KO. My goodness, but I don't think it was KO's fault, really, because I think Pascal didn't choose the best place to try to lap him. It's in that little left-right S where there's very little room.
Oh,
God,
KO missed a gear right then, so he's
shoot.
down slightly more than what Pascal and himself thought, I reckon, and that's why...
That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate, because I'm sure KO didn't intend to do that.
Certainly not.
That's terrible. Well,
I think Pascal was also, very much in a hurry, because he knew that Grant was coming from behind, and obviously when you're lapping another car, that's one of those situations where the guy behind can try to make a move on you.
And KO into the pits with damaged rear end. And
yeah, I'm
Pascal,
sure he's got damage as well, so this is very unfortunate for both parties concerned. Pascal only down to 7th so far, but this pit stop is dragging on. My goodness.
We're 1/3 into the race, and probably if Pascal changes his strategy and instead of going for one stop in the middle of the race, puts some harder tires and instead tries to do 2/3 of the race, which I think on a harder compound should be possible, then maybe, just maybe, he is able to get the top 5 or finishing the points, because it's obvious that his rhythm was quite good.
Certainly possible that Alberto Jr. was into the pits for some new rubber by the looks of things as well.
That's weird. I thought he was going to do only one stop. Not sure what was going on there.
So with those developments, let's run down the top 10 for you. Grant Riddall is in the lead. Dave Miller is in second now. Gabriel Del Piccolo is third. Richard Coxon is fourth. David Jakes is fifth. Richard Wilkes sixth. Seventh is Anders Nilsson. Eighth, Ray Riddall. Ninth, Pascal Mikola after his stop to get a new wing. And 10th is Mick Chapman. Little Al has fallen down to 11th now. 12th is Thiago Canola. 13th, Brian Janik, and he's coming on strong. 14th, Oscar Hardwick. 15th, Timo Vermeers. 16th, Bruno Chacon. 17th, K.O. McKeels. 18th, Victor Alcacer. 19th, Adam Hackman. And 20th is Tim Hilla.
So Coxon is down to 6, probably because of a pit stop also.
Yes, he is. He exited the pits just a little bit ago. This is a replay. There he goes.
He did. One of his laps was his lap number 25 was in 1.42, which means obviously there has been a pit stop. So 25 laps into the race, Richard pit. We'll see what the others have to do, but if Pascal's strategy was similar, it wouldn't surprise me that this isn't hurting a lot his options. Because, yeah, of course, he lost some time there, but, well, we are seeing that there are more people pitting in this moment. So, I mean, it's a strategy. So, at least it didn't happen to him in lap 5 or 10.
And Del Piccolo is right with Miller now. Miller actually looks like he missed a gear. Here comes Del Piccolo on the outside of the first turn, but that's not a good place to pass. But
no, this is a very tight turn. It almost goes backwards when turning left, so...
The second turn there, that's a right-hand turn, is a very frustrating one because you want to put the power on earlier, but you can't.
And a battle for 10th is on as well. 10th, 11th, 12th between Chapman, Niquino and Canola.
It is. Yeah, Little Al is the meat in this sandwich currently, and he's stalking Mick Chapman. That Honda Power he's going to be hoping will help him to get by. Chapman takes a defensive line going into the last turn, but my goodness, he gets overhauled by both cars.
Yeah, he actually let them by.
He drops to 12th, my goodness.
Car coming out of the pits now in front of them is the Ray Riddle, maybe? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes, Ray exiting the pits just now.
Good for Ray because he overtook Little Al earlier, so he has been able to keep the position after the pit stop.
Pascal is now in 8th place with that pit stop by Ray. Anders is in 7th, and Coxon in 6th. Wilkes running alone in 5th. 4th is...
and I don't think that Grant Riddle has stopped yet. But for the record, this cost Pascal Mikula, if you're considering the leader as reference, 39 seconds, but the leader hasn't stopped. If you pick Richard Coxon, who did a scheduled pit stop in a similar lap and was some seconds behind, he's now 12 seconds behind Richard Coxon. So Pascal is doing very quick laps, and I'm happy to say that his car is probably not damaged. He's, ever quicker, 122.8.
And he's on fresh rubber as well,
yes,
I'm sure.
122.7 on the next lap, so he's flying. Whereas in the case of Richard Coxon, he's doing 123s. So it's obvious that Pascal has more pace, and he's going to sooner or later catch up with Richard, for example.
And Anders Nilsson's going to have his hands full in a hot minute here.
Yeah, Anders hasn't stopped yet, so if he isn't stopping, then I don't think he will be able to fend off Pascal a lot, because he's back to his 124s, probably due to tire degradation, because he had been able to slot into the 123s, but he's been doing, the last 4 laps have been 124 something.
Oh goodness, Pascal runs on the grass behind him a little bit, so that's not going to help his progress forward, but definitely that Honda versus the Ford engine in the LaRousse, it's not a even matchup, so...
Yeah, Pascal must be now very, very anxious to get some ground back. He knows he has great pace, and it was an unfortunate incident there.
And Del Piccolo sandwiched between Jakes and Dave Miller here. This is another interesting... Oh, What happened?
Oh, I'm just watching KO here. He's doing a great job because he's... Oh, dear me. There he goes. He's running with the toe out on, I believe it's the left rear where he got hit. And, he missed a gear there and lost the car in the quick sweeper, but still running, so very good job by him.
Let's have a look in a replay.
And Little Al now is getting quicker and getting closer to right Ridal. I already told you that once the fuel was going lower, he would be going to start racing. And Thiago Canola is right behind him while he's pushing also him. But Thiago Canola is obviously on a very different strategy. But they are both catching up with Brian Ridal, who exited the pits a bit before them.
It's interesting that they would be catching him because Ray should be on fresh rubber. And Pascal has already dispensed with Anders Nilsson. That's not a surprise given the power difference there.
Well, Miller is all over the rear from Del Piccolo.
Yes. Oh, Del Piccolo is passed. Let's have a look at a replay of what happened here because Del Piccolo is now up into third place. This is a replay coming off of the final turn. Oh, he has really great... Oh, there was a slight bit of contact there as they went over the start-finish line. And, and Del Piccolo... Man, Del Piccolo came very close to hitting the wall, but here he goes up the inside of Dave Miller and takes that position. There was slight contact there, so great overtake by... Great overtake by Del Piccolo with very little room.
Wow, Diego just nearly made a move on Little Al there on the last chicane. They're coming now to turn one, but Thiago is really getting anxious there.
Meanwhile, Dave Miller is hanging right with, and he's got David Jakes right behind him as well. This is a really excellent scrap. Second, third, and fourth on your TV screen as Minardi is now in front of this group. And
yellow flag there, someone lost the front wing.
My goodness.
That was Timo Vermeersch. Oh, no. Ooh, he nearly got into Little Al's way.
Dave Miller looking for a way by. Del Piccolo holds him off. He's got that Renault power behind him, and now coming up now to lap Brian Janik. This is going to be a dicey situation because these two are really in a heavy battle here. And
David
meanwhile,
Jakes is in the pits,
David Jakes has disappeared. He's in the pits. David Jakes in the pits.
Came out right behind Richard Coxon, who has been held up by Richard Wilkes. And of course, this is for position. Richard Coxon moves now on Richard Wilkes. And there comes David Jakes, and I guess that Richard Wilkes is not going to make it hard for... Well, that's the line. That's obviously the racing line. But now, there he allows David Jakes to go by. I think that Richard Wilkes might have been a bit over-optimistic there because he's obviously on the last bits of his rubber. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him go into the pits.
Janik lets both Del Piccolo and Dave Miller by, and there's a little wrench icon on the screen with Dave Miller, so I'm assuming that means he has called for a pit stop. And we'll see the Williams team go to work with Dave Miller.
And see if he goes... also seems to have that icon, which indicates, as I was saying, that he probably did a lap too much and is struggling now on the tires. It's unfortunate for him because he lost the position to Jakes and Coxon, who are now flying away. And Wilkes will be into the pits. Let's see.
Dave Miller.
Yes, there he goes, braking carefully and going into the pits. So that will give another position to Pascal Mikula. Will be now 6th. And in the pits now is Richard Wilkes and I think Timo for repairs.
Yes. Timo exits, and there goes Richard Wilkes. He's dropping down to... He's 7th now.
As Pascal
Nilsson is
the quickest lap of the race at a 22.2.
Yeah, I mean, his speed was out of the question. We've already mentioned that.
Pascal now back into the points.
And Grant Riddle is still in the lead with 8 seconds of advantage over Gabriele Del Piccolo, though I must see if
we'll have to watch that. We'll have to watch
because
that.
Grant hasn't stopped, and he's doing. I mean, last lap was slower. He was doing constant 123s. Last lap was slower, but we don't know if that was due to traffic or. Let's see, because he's again in 1-3-3, so I don't expect him to stop anytime soon. He's probably going to make it to half the race and then stop. So he's obviously on one stop less strategy than the rest.
Excellent analysis from everyone's favorite Spanish color commentator.
Well, I don't know if it's been mentioned, but Bruno Chacon has retired from the race after an off in the last chicane. Hit the inside curb in the right-hander, and the car just speared right.
Well,
it's
that's
not very hard
here,
impact.
and Bruno hasn't been comfortable all the weekend. That's for whatever reason. He doesn't seem to be well much here.
Yeah, that's a very rare thing that you see printed next to Chacon's name, the DNF. You don't normally see that next to him, so that's very unfortunate because we know how passionate Bruno is. Every time we announce something on Facebook, Bruno's the first one to like it. He's very enthusiastic and usually finishes, so that's too bad for him. But I'm sure that we'll see him next Sunday in the Trentonian 200 and. He enjoys that series as well. So, does it appear that Del Piccolo is making any inroads on the gap between himself and Grant Riddall?
It's quite stable. It's decreased a bit because Del Piccolo has been really pushing it in the last laps. But Richard Coxon and David Yags are the ones that are really close together right now. Also the case for Little Al and Ray Riddall, but not yet in striking distance.
Yeah, cars are pretty spread out at the moment. This would probably be a...
Whoop! Grant
Riddall just ran off the track!
Grant just missed the chicane, was in the
Oh
grass.
my goodness!
Yeah, and there's the symbol there for the pit stop. And, well, as expected, he's going to stop mid-race, but his tires are saying, I've had enough of this already.
All right, let's have a look. Oh, he just goes clear through the grass there. My goodness. So, yeah, he's he definitely needs to come into the pits, that's for sure.
And I think in that case, he realized, I won't make this corner even if I try.
No, he didn't even try,
So he decided to just run it through and lose more time instead of risking losing the car completely.
In comes our leader, Grant Riddall.
And let's see now Del Piccolo, because he was doing great lap
Here's
times.
Del Piccolo.
But we're seeing here that the tires are like falling off a cliff. It has happened to Richard Wilkes. It has happened to Grant Riddall. We'll see what happens to Del Piccolo, because, well, maybe with a small distance that was between them, 7 seconds, I don't think he will be able to retain the lead. But whether he makes a good lap or not right now will be what tells us.
Oh my goodness! K.O. Michels is out of the race. K.O. Michels. We can see it as the leader, our new leader, Del Piccolo, runs by. It looks like he smacked the wall in that same section that he's not too comfortable with. And there's...
but
that's too bad.
Still?
It looks like he's running.
He's running because he's in the race yet.
Well, he's... maybe I misidentified. I could have sworn that he had parts missing, but he's still running.
Yeah, must have been. There is a bit of lag. There are some cars that look there as if missing parts at some point.
Okay.
But anyways, no. Fortunately, he's still running, and he's now being overtaken by Brian Jennings.
Oh goodness! Richard Coxon spins coming out of the hairpin. Luckily, he doesn't hit anything, and that's going to promote. Dave Miller to fourth. Miller goes up to fourth. My goodness, let's take a look at that and replay.
Oh, just a bit of unfortunate power delivery by the looks of things there.
Yeah.
And David Jacks also, of course, who has now gained the position. So
oh my goodness!
Now is Riddall, Jacks, Del Piccolo. What happened to Del Piccolo? Wait a moment. He's in the pits. And Miller goes by. Oh, Del Piccolo must be pulling his hair because Dave Miller was just able to slot in front of him at the pit exit.
Yep, Del Piccolo in the pits. Here's the replay of that exit.
And Richard Coxon coming now, trying to get well, finding himself with a very hard driver to overtake in front. He had been stuck behind the Piccolo in the first stint of the race, and this is not going to make Richard any happier than the spin has, because he was probably counting with being in front of the Piccolo once he exited the pits, but with this spin, all the strategy is out of the window now.
So with all these pit stops, it's now a Brabham 1-2 out front, with Grant Riddall in the lead and David Jakes in second. Dave Miller is third. Gabriel Del Piccolo, after his pit stop, is fourth.
Half the race.
Yes, with half the race gone, there is half the race yet to go. Famous Murray Walkerism.
Whoops! Del Piccolo now getting stuck behind K.O. Michaels. And
Oh,
Richard
goodness!
Coxon uses the opportunity to overtake.
There goes Coxon. Overtakes.
Yeah, a bit of a misunderstanding there. Well, Del Piccolo was also anxious to pass. He obviously was feeling the pressure from Richard Coxon, but remember, Richard is on an extra stop strategy. He will be doing still one more stop, whereas Gabriele won't be stopping till the end.
And look who's right behind these two. It's Pascal Mikola.
Yeah, he has a ride there with Richard's spin and the pit stop and all. Though Pascal is on the same strategy now, whether it was his original or not, we will not know. But he's on the same two-stop strategy, so he needs to get past Gabriele Del Piccolo soon enough, same as Richard did, because they need to open a gap with him, as he will be stopping one time less.
Oh, Pascal very definitely stalking Del Piccolo now. If you are just joining us and see what happened earlier, Pascal was on the pole and led the first part of the race pretty handily after some brief skirmishes with Grant Riddall, but then unfortunately lost his front wing in a incident where he contacted K.O. McKeels. Looked as if K.O. had missed a gear, so it was just an unfortunate racing incident. But now Pascal, after repairing the car, is up to 6th place and clearly is stalking 5th place Gabriel Del Piccolo. He looks up the inside, but that's not a good place to overtake. At least not in the current situation that he's in. But Pascal definitely looks like he has the legs to overtake Del Piccolo in the next few laps. Oh, looks up there. Oh, he looks up the inside, but very wisely doesn't really go for it there.
No, Del Piccolo had the right to the corner there and was on the normal racing line. Pascal was probably just testing the waters.
Mm-hmm. But a fantastic scrap here between two very good drivers. Drivers of differing styles. Pascal very much an attack all the time.
Coxon hasn't been able to go very far. He's behind Dave Miller, but not yet in striking distance. And it's the duo on the top that is really going now, well, making the difference. There is 5 seconds gap between Grant Riddall and David Yates, and another 5 seconds to Dave Miller.
Into the hairpin once again. You see, there's Miller and there's Coxon.
This will be a frustrating situation for Pascal, because I think he's a bit in the same style of setup as Gabriele Del Piccolo with little wings. And you see what happens here. I mean, he's not able to get into striking distance. And it's very dangerous in this quick chicane to follow another car closely because of the aero washout.
Although, look at this. He's definitely got a toe. Coming into turn 1, he goes on the inside, overtakes.
Gabriele is clever. He's not going to make much more of a resistance there, because he knows he has to do one stop less than Pascal.
True.
And Richard Coxon better hurry up with dispensing with Dave Miller, because Pascal is coming hot from behind.
And Coxon is all over Dave Miller as they exit one of the fast, that chicane. Now they're on the backside of the course. One right and left-hand turn chicane here, and now they're going to go to the hairpin. But Coxon definitely looks like he's stalking Dave Miller at this point.
And no wonder Pascal Mikola, during that pass, or setting up that pass, did his fastest lap of the race at a 22.1.
Goodness.
Yeah, he also probably, because he got the slipstream from Del Piccolo in the quick section.
And they're closing. Oh, goodness. Well, that was a bit of a foreshortened shot, but Yeah, Pascal is fast and furious right now, coming after Coxon, and Coxon sizing up Dave Miller. So this is going to become a 4-car battle very quickly here. Del Piccolo losing a little time. Coxon looks up the outside and not in the right place to overtake typically, but there he goes. Into the first turn, up to third place, overtakes Dave Miller, and now Dave has got to deal with Pascal Mikola arriving behind him.
Yeah, that should give Richard Coxon the opportunity to defend and not get passed by Dave Miller again, because Dave is right now having more to look into his mirrors than to the front. Because look at Pascal Mikola.
Oh, goodness. Very, very close coming out of that chicane. Riding on board of Pascal now. He's probably going to make an attempt
Miller
at the hair.
missed the gear of, well,
Miller.
Oh, he should have a good run here.
Yeah, Miller had a bad exit there, clobbering the curb, and here comes Pascal looking for a way on the inside. This is probably going to be it. Oh, goodness. Miller late breaks into the hairpin and just stays ahead. Miller having trouble putting the power down. Oh, my goodness. Slight contact. No. Guys, come on. And there goes Del Piccolo taking advantage. My goodness.
very opportunistic.
Johnny
there.
on the spot.
Pascal miscalculated there because I saw him from above slide a bit into Miller's face.
God,
Sorry.
Oh my goodness, there he goes. Oh, guys, come on. My goodness, Pascal.
But there was a clean pass actually.
Yeah.
But it was very dangerous.
Oh, and now we have Del Piccolo on the grass. Pascal is up to fourth place now. My goodness. Incredible developments in just one lap.
Well, and I think this also goes to show that despite what we saw at Monaco, Pascal is very much able to do brilliant passes very cleanly. So
now the question is, did Dave Miller damage his car when he clouded the wall coming out of the last turn? Because he did hit it with considerable force. We'll have to keep an eye on his numbers and see if he's able to continue at the pace he was
far,
at.
The steering wheel seems to be straight.
All right, good.
Driving.
Del Piccolo doesn't seem to be losing much ground to Mikola here. I'll tell you what, Gabriel, after that incident between, or the miscommunication between Mikola and Miller, must have had a smile a mile wide as he was going by.
Yeah, until he was in the grass.
Yeah. Oh, goodness, I think Pascal just clipped the barrier there as I came out of the hairpin. He's got to be careful not to do that.
In terms of Dave Miller, it looks like as well that the car is tracking straight all together, even in the corners, so with load on all the parts of the car, so I think his car is more or less okay here.
And Grant Riddall continues to lead in Martin Brundle's Brabham, and Mark Blundell's Brabham is in second, driven by David Jakes. Third is Richard Coxon. Fourth, Pascal Mikola. Fifth, Gabriel Del Piccolo. Sixth is Dave Miller. Seventh, Richard Wilkes. Eighth.
Little Al just put in the chicane. In the hairpin, sorry. I think. I was watching the lap times because I was checking and apparently he pitted in the previous lap. But
he's
now
in
he
10th.
seems to have a spun there. That will hurt his options of catching up with Dave Miller. With Ryan Riddle.
Mick Chapman still soldiering on in 11th place. Thiago Canola is 12th, and Brian Janik 13th. But Canola is...
Attention, Coxon has spun. He's now reversing.
Oh, goodness, Coxon has. He's in 5th place now, down to 6th as the cars stream past. And that was the hairpin once again.
Yeah,
exactly the same. Yeah, exactly the same as the last time.
Exact same problem.
You can't say that he's
unbelievable. It's like a replay of the last spin. That's identical to what happened last time. Nice, does a nice nifty little spin there to get back pointed the right way.
When he's into the pits, presumably
hold your breath,
tires.
because Pascal is right now in third position. He's in the podium position and only 15 seconds away from the leader.
Oh, goodness.
Not just that, he's going quicker than the leader. He's going quicker nearly by a mile because he's going into the 122s easily, whereas Grant has been doing 123s, high 123s.
All right, so things ought to get really exciting quickly here. This has been a very interesting Canadian Grand Prix so far.
While we await that situation, despite the rest of the field more or less being spread out, I know one driver who doesn't mind running on his own because he's really enjoying this mod, and that's Anders Nilsson. I was talking with him, must have been Sunday afternoon, evening. No, sorry, it would have been Tuesday. And he talked about the fact that when he first picked up the mod and he drove, and he was all over the shop, nowhere near being able to stay on the track. And he couldn't see anything wrong with the setup or anything, so he handed it over to a friend of his that is more of a setup guru than himself, and he immediately said, well, you do realize your tires are nowhere within that temperature range, don't you? And Anna's like, no, I don't, but okay, I'll try another set of tires. He put the softest compound on, and he immediately was straight on pace to where he expected to be. Huh. And he said to me that the way these tires work is the most realistic I've ever had a joy and opportunity to drive and partake in, so he certainly is enjoying himself.
Well, he might be rewarded with a points-paying finish before the race is over. I mean, he did have a sensational race in Monaco, driving the much maligned Ligier Lamborghini, and here he is driving another car that's not really known for its handling or speed, and could be looking at another points finish. So
yeah, hang on, because the musical chairs will be starting to be playing after this race due to the absence of some people. So there will be some quite decent cars backend, and
yes,
I just want to see Anders Nilsson in a better car, really.
If he gets in a better car, watch out, because it could make the championship that much more interesting. It's been interesting
now
already.
Gabriele is very close to Pascal Mikula, and well, we'll see what happens, because Gabriele will never obviously pass on an opportunity of getting by, but I think that Gabriele must have a big smile right now inside his helmet, knowing that if Pascal stays there, Pascal has to do one stop yet, which he hasn't.
Oh,
well, he did do a stop, though, earlier, after he lost his front wing.
Yes, but he hasn't done his second, no?
We're only expecting one stop. I mean, I think the thing to watch with Pascal is if he doesn't plan on doing a second stop, his tires might give up earlier than other people's.
Yeah, therefore, we'll see. But whatever the case, if either Pascal has to do another stop or he has to do a very long stint on the same tires. So, I mean, the situation looks good for Gabriele.
I missed it there, but just a second ago, Gabriel did a straight line of the chicane, similar to what happened with Grant before he made his pit stop. So we'll have to keep a close eye on Gabriel to make sure he doesn't have an incident.
And talking about Anders, we were talking about him, and he's now just 1 second behind Richard Coxon, who, after all the incidents that has had, seems to maybe like taking it easier.
Well, possibly, but it was actually Richard who passed Anders just a moment ago into turn 1. So Richard is going quick, but if he's taking it easier, we will have to wait for another couple of laps to see what kind of lap time he's running.
Well, he's out of the points right now.
Oh, Anders is going to the pits. Anders wrench just came on
65% into the race, so if you're on a two-stop strategy, this is the moment where you're going to stop.
Well, Anders hasn't
it should also be the time for Richard coming very close to do his second pit stop, because he did it in lap 25. We're now on lap 45, so he's probably coming in lap 50.
You see KO Michiels letting Anders by. KO is continuing on and doing a good job despite having several incidents along the way.
Indeed, and Anders Nilsson actually haven't pitted yet, so I wouldn't put it past him to...
Well, the wrench logo is on in his car, so I'm suspecting he's coming in this lap. Mick Chapman still in 12th. Thiago did overtake him, I guess, and he's up to 11th. We missed it, but Thiago has risen to 11th place, now matching his car number. Little Al soldiering on in 10th. Rayredal 9th, and Anders is 8th, but he is probably going for the pits. Well, it's good to hear that Anders enjoys this mod. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes to get these cars ready to go. It's not a turnkey operation. I mean, obviously, as you know from the intro that we show, oh, Anders is taking another lap. The video intro that we do for each race, this is originally an F1 SR mod that we have modernized for AMS. So, but there's a lot of work that goes into getting these cars handling properly. Because although they may be handling well in one mod, when you go to another one, it's a different story. AMS obviously has better features than R-Factor does in terms of tires. So it's a lot of work to get these cars where they need to be. So when we hear the kind of feedback that Anders is giving us, you know, that makes us feel good. Tells us we're doing something right. "17 people watching this on YouTube right now. And I was doing some reading, gentlemen, about the effects that coronavirus has had on the gaming world. Apparently, online gaming is spiked by 75% in the past few weeks. And it's not hard to understand why, because a lot of people are sequestered at home. And when you're at home, sequestered, you run out of things to do. And there's the internet, and online gaming is really surged. I've been playing lots of Call of Duty World War II. In addition to practicing for the Trentonian 200, I'm sure you guys have been spending a bit more time online than you usually do.
And we're happy in that case to be able to provide some entertaining and some relief.
Yes, some relief. And to everybody out there who's dealing with this global crisis, I just want to say, you know, we've been through big challenges like this before, and we will emerge on the other side of it.
Stay at home so that this thing doesn't spread, because that's the key. Stay home, stay home, stay home. And here we will be to provide the entertainment.
Yeah, please.
Right, Riddle is in the pits.
Oh.
And Little Al goes by. Little Al has already done his stop, whereas Rai is doing it now. So if he wants the 9th position back, he will have to overtake on the track.
Yep.
Tiago ain't too far behind either, so...
Yeah, Tiago in 11th is closing quickly, so we'll see what happens there.
So Tiago is... I don't know, it's on the same lap as Rai, but yes, both are a lap down already. I mean, Little Al is at this point the only... the first car who is not a lap down.
Oh, and K.O. McHeels is out of the race, unfortunately. Not sure what happened there, but it's too far back to find it, so... But, a good debut nonetheless. Did well in the Coloni Ford. Hopefully we'll see him in a future race. Oscar still soldiering on in 14th place in the Modena. His teammate Tim Hilla, I believe, is out of the race at this point. And Brian Janik, after his incident on the first lap, oh my goodness, Richard Wilkes running up on the curb there. He's got to be careful. Anders Nilsson is now in the pits, finally.
And it looks like, in terms of KO, he probably picked up some more damage because his car was handling even worse than it was before on the last final straight here. So I think he finally decided that he's too much of a danger and retired out of courteousness to everyone else. As Ron Pidol gets the fastest lap of the race.
Cool. So,
and just for the record, only 10 cars finished this race in real life.
In real life, okay, that's interesting.
Well, we have 15 still on track, with 71% of the race complete.
All right, I think this is a good time to do the trivia question. So let's remind everybody what the question was. The trivia question was, Stefan Johansson drove in place of which driver for the 1991 Canadian Grand Prix? Was it A, Michele Alboreto, B, Alex Caffey, or C, Julian Bailey?
No C?
Fairly sure it's one of the first two.
No, the answers are A, Michele Alberto, B, Alex Caffey, or C, Julian Bailey.
Okay, I've missed it. Alex Caffey.
So you're going B, Alex Caffey. What are you going, Jonathan?
I think I'll guess A. I think Alberto was driving for that team at the time.
Nope, sorry. The correct answer was Alex Caffey. So, Alberto, you got the last two in a row right. Way to go.
It was completely pure luck, not knowledge. Oh, suspension. Hang on. Big Chapman just crashed. He's out with suspension.
Oh, no!
Ooh, he has had a big hit somewhere.
That's too bad. It looks like he has, he entered the, oh my goodness. He entered the left-right, the fast one after the hairpin in kind of a strange way. That's really too bad. So both Benettons out of the race now. He rode up the curb and it sent him straight into the wall on the outside. That's too bad. Sorry to see that. So it's Mick out of the race, unfortunately. Too bad. Sorry about that, Mick.
So Lilal just got lapped by the leader. Next up is Anders Nilsson. And Grant is opening a bit of a gap yet with David Yates. It was 7 seconds before, it's 9 seconds now. But remember that we are only 75% into the race, and anything can still happen, and usually does in Formula One. The break
Pascal
is going to be the bit.
Yes. Pascal can see David Jakes just ahead of him.
Whoa, that's a comeback if I ever saw one.
And Oscar Hardwick is heading for a late race pit stop here. Possibly looking for a bit more pace for the last 20 odd laps. And Coxon is closing in on Richard Wilkes as well, within 2 seconds now of Wilkes' Leighton house.
Looks like Jakes is really struggling with the back end of the car. We'll see how he does coming out of the hairpin here. But he had a huge twitch coming out of the last chicane. Okay, he's a little better here, but...
yeah, maybe he was pushing it a bit just to see what happened, how it went, but...
I'm surprised we haven't had more incidents at that turn like the kind that Mick had. Because that's one of the most difficult parts of the course. And if you make a mistake there, you can very easily hit the wall like we saw as Thiago moves over and lets Pascal by. And goodness, you can see that he's really closing on David Jakes.
Yeah, and Coxon is now about to overtake Richard Wilkes. We'll see how this pans out. Two very good friends on track. And Richard, well, obviously wants that point for the championship. Whereas Wilkes is...
Whoa,
there you go. That's the terrible chicane.
Oh, look out!
Very dangerous, they're always.
Both of them going all out here by the looks of things.
Oh, Coxon looking up the inside. Is he going to overtake? Yes, he does. Coxon goes up into the points. Richard Wilkes drops to 7th. Very clean overtake.
And there goes Wilkes home for a point, at least for now.
At least for the moment.
Ooh, and Pascal is only 1 second behind Jakes.
He's very close to David Jakes now, so we could see a pass for second place.
And Piccolo isn't too far behind either, so...
No, he's not.
If anything happens here, Piccolo will be having an even larger grin than he had last time.
Yeah, Del Piccolo's already been Johnny on the spot once in this race.
And Pascal comes really
oh my goodness, look at the closing rate there as he comes down to the... Looks on the inside.
He was so much quicker in the last chicane. That was insane.
Now that forces David Yakes into the defensive mode, and this will only benefit Grant, who is 11 seconds in front.
Yeah. But this is going to be really interesting because David Jakes is not going to just roll over and play dead for Pascal Mikola.
No, but at the same time, Jakes really needs to be
yellow flag. Yellow flag in this section. Pascal has a bit of a problem there.
There was a car on the sand there.
That was one of the Lotuses.
Oh.
Timo Vermeers, it looks like, has retired, so I presume that was Timo, unfortunately, off the road there.
That's unfortunate.
Well, it is a hard-biting track. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a case of, because of how the track works there, either that he broke on the grass or the engine gave up on him. Oh, that's a sick-sounding engine. Aye. Timo's engine gave up on him. That's why he parked it on the side of the road.
My goodness. That's a Judd, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, Lotus were struggling in 91 with many financial troubles and all that, and they could only go with those Judd engines.
They had a skeleton crew at best at Lotus at that time.
Well, to be fair, Lotus most of the time had a skeleton, technically a skeleton crew compared to most other teams. Oh, that's Richard Coxon does the quickest lap of the race at a 21.4.
Yeah, his name is doused in purple on my lap chart. So Coxon definitely on the move. And Pascal, I think Pascal lost a bit of time when they came upon Timo Vermeers there. It might have thrown his rhythm a bit because he went
it's not just that, but David Jakes was obviously he had some lap time under his sleeve. He was conserving, but he didn't want to pull it out until it was really necessary. Because he knew obviously every lap that he does pushing the car is increasing the risk of brake failure. So I think that he was confident enough that once Pascal was close, like 2 seconds behind or something like that, he could then start racing and go quicker. Because, well, it took some more laps and that means more brake saving for him. They are coming now to Little Al, I think. Yes, that's the only McLaren on track now. Who is in turn trying to make up distance with Anders Nilsson, though not yet being able. And yeah, Pascal is there, but the distance is constant. Maybe also Pascal pushed a lot to come here and now is taking it more calmly. Yes, because he had been doing 121s when he was like...
Oh, man! Very close quarters there between Little Al and David Jakes, but fortunately no contact. As he puts a lap on Little Al, and you can see there's Pascal lurking in the background. Coming down to the final chicane. This is completing lap 56, the start of lap 57, so very soon there will be just 10 laps to go in the Molson Grand Prix du Canada.
And Little Al made room there for Pascal, so as not to have problems. Now it's coming Gabriele Del Piccolo and Ray Ridal. That's a problem for Little Al, because with Ray Ridal it's for position, so he has to let Gabriele Del Piccolo by without being passed by Ray Ridal.
Reminding everybody really quickly what's coming up next week at ISO. We've got touring car racing coming your way on Wednesday. Not as a broadcast, but if you want to take part, there are plenty of cars available in this series, I believe, Jonathan. 1997 Australian Super Touring Championship rounds 11 through 12 of 16 at Malala Motorsport Park. On Wednesday, 25th, and the next Sunday, the Trentonian 200 round 4 of 13 in the USAC series. Sunday, March 29th.
Oh, look at Ray Ridal, because as expected, he was able to sneak behind Gabriele Del Piccolo, and now is pushing on Little Al.
Oh, yes, he's right with him now. As they come into the chicane, final chicane, he's right with him. Little Al really leaning on that Honda to stay ahead.
Yeah, he had to slow down to allow the other cars to pass. First Hudson and the others, and then Gabriele. And now that has allowed Brian Vidal to get close to him, because he was also apparently being quicker on track and getting closer. We'll see how he recovers from this situation. You can see there the marbles at the outside of the turn. You slide into those, you're out.
We're being asked on YouTube why there's no broadcast of Australian Super Touring. The answer is simply that no one's available.
Everyone is either racing or working.
Well, I mean, yeah, that pretty much is the case.
That's why we try to get highlights of the races uploaded. I've been a little bit on the lazy side with work and stuff getting in the way, but hopefully I will have some time now with Corona times to get that up.
Sorry to interrupt you, but there's Pascal now trying to make the move on David Jackson, the starting line. This could be...
Oh, there he goes! He's going up the outside, going into the turn. He's trying to get good purchase. Oh, there's contact! Oh, my goodness. David
That's
Jakes.
very uncharacteristic from David Jackson.
Yeah, he dirt tracked it through there.
Dearly if his tires blow. Look at the
Man.
people coming there, trying to make the most of the situation.
Let's take a look at that as a replay. As Pascal goes up the outside.
Wilkes has spun.
Oh, God. Yeah, the Wilkes has spun. Goodness.
Yes. But no harm done, apparently. While Brian Riddle is still behind Little Al, but unable to pass.
Well, no harm done, you say. It sounds like he has a puncture on the right rear there.
Does he have? Oh, yes. Yes, the right rear is punched. Fortunately for him, it was apparently in the hairpin, very close to the pits, and he's heading for them right now.
Yes.
Well, 11 laps to the end. That's going to hurt.
Yeah, that's going to definitely be... That's going to put him definitely out of points contention in this race, unfortunately.
There's Little Al doing the hairpin now. So maybe Anders Nilsson is past the pits right now. Gets Wilkes' position. And Wilkes is coming out of the pits.
Yep.
But Little Al, not yet. Pascal Mikula just lapped him. Wilkes coming out.
Oh, goodness, very close. Look out, look out, look out.
That was the worst possible moment, because Del Piccolo has overtaken David Jakes. They're fighting. Jakes wants that position back, and Little Al was coming very close. So Wilkes, retained his position barely.
Oh, man, this is a really good fight here between Del Piccolo and Jakes. So, yeah, Jakes definitely has tire issues. It's very uncharacteristic of him to lose two places so close together. He just dirt tracked it into that first turn. That was really... The car just simply wasn't cooperating for him. So Pascal's got quite a distance to make up here. He's 10 seconds behind the leader right now. About 3 seconds in front of the battle between Del Piccolo and David Jakes.
Yeah,
Miller
but
is still in fifth
because he just went under 122. He did 121.7, and now it was a bit slower, 122.2. But in the case of Pascal, because he's been doing also 121 high and 122 similar lap times, I don't think he will be able to make it. Pascal is not going to get that win that easily. It's down to 9.5 seconds now, yes, but it's we're eight laps from the finish.
Yeah, so let's run down the top 10 really quickly as time is running out here in the Molson Grand Prix du Canada. Grant Riddall is your leader. Pascal Mikula is in second. Gabriel Del Piccolo is third. David Jakes is fourth. Dave Miller is fifth. Richard Coxon is sixth. Anders Nilsson is seventh. Richard Wilkes is eighth. Alberto Aquino is ninth. 10th is Ray Riddall. 11th is Thiago Canola. 12th is Brian Janik. And 13th, the final car running, Oscar Hardwick.
And very sportingly there, letting faster cars by in an easy place to let them by.
Yes, and now Pascal putting a lap on Anders Nilsson. I have to say, I mean, the drivers have been very courteous in this race, in lapping situations. Some of them very tense, I might say.
Yeah, though Oscar Hardwick would know where to put his car here, because in this fast chicane, whoa, there you go. Good car control there, because it could have hurt David Yates a lot. Oof.
And the gap
Yates
is now
really
only 9
pushing
seconds.
He wants that podium position back. 7th position and 4th position are the ones you would never want to be.
Yep, Del Piccolo. And I know that what's on Del Piccolo's mind right now is I don't want to have a late race calamity this time. He's had 2 of them so far in this series. He doesn't want it to happen again. But Jake's, yeah, he wants that podium finish. You can see it. The way he's driving, he just absolutely wants that podium finish. And the Brabham has a very angry look to it.
2 very quick, very good drivers.
Oh, look at this!
They
Up the
have bad luck this season, so only the podium will be for one of them, and it's a pity because I think that both have been deserving it all season.
Yeah, they both do. They both have bad luck. They both want it really badly. They want it so bad they can taste it. It's pretty clear. Down to the hairpin. Looks like David may have a try. No, he tucks back in. But yeah, this is a very hot scrap right here. 2 very good drivers. 2 drivers who can drive on the limit very well and consistently, I might add. Coming out of that very fast section down to the... I don't think David's got a chance here, but they thread through that final turn. Whoa! Look at how...
Also, remember that this is David Yates' home Grand Prix.
It is, yes. This is David Jake. Oh, look at he does it again. The back end. He taps Gabriel just a tiny bit. Shouldn't be any damage there. But man, those back tires are just only tires in the academic sense. They are round. They were once made of rubber.
Yeah, and I think Gabriel is also struggling a little bit with flat spots. I notice him locking up quite often at the moment.
And if anything, if there's any consolation for whoever doesn't get the podium, I think they both are having a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is great racing too to watch. This is why this mod is so much fun, because there's great scraps that can happen like this.
Whoa, and Ray Riddle still also putting a lot of pressure on Little Al, who is yet in
sorry
front.
to cut you off. Canola has retired.
Oh goodness.
Well, that's unfortunate. Both Lotus are out of the race. And I see Oscar Hardwick has marked a sign to pit. Not sure what's going on here.
Maybe he has some damage.
I think he's had that for a little while though, so...
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, Ray Riddle definitely is stalking Little Al. And this has been going on for a while, but he's definitely staying right with him and keeping Little Al honest at every turn.
Oof! Gabriele just locked the wheel and has immediately David Yates there on his tail.
Oh, man.
David has no traction coming out of the corners.
Yeah, he's
those
fighting.
rear tires are shot. Absolutely.
He's just absolutely fighting that car the whole way around. It is not easy for David at this point. He's having to... You would think that aero washout would help him on corner entry a little bit. But watch as he tries to put the power down, the car just snakes.
And it looks like the reason for Thiago's retirement was the same as for his teammate, engine failure.
And we're joined by Thiago Canola now. Thiago, sorry to see you're out of the race. What happened? Was engine failure?
Yeah, just a second.
As we have David Jake still stalking Gabriel Del Piccolo. Meanwhile, we should take a look at the timing here as Pascal crosses the line to see if he's getting any closer to the lead. Oh no! Pascal hits the wall! He hits the wall coming off of the final turn. That was a pretty solid hit. 8.7 seconds.
Oh, the car looks off balance.
Oh goodness, that may be the last real chance Pascal had to close in on the lead. But
yeah, that car is moving. That's not going in straight line.
No. Well, he was definitely pushing it. So
maybe in the end we do get a podium for both Gabriele Del Piccolo and David Jakes. We'll see.
Well, we're not sure, but look at Jakes now. He's right underneath his rear wing, looking for a chance to get by, but this is not a good place right here. You can see all the marbles on the outside of the track. You definitely don't want to get on those in cars like this, especially when you have...
Oh, and Ray Riddle is slowing down. What's going on here? I know, I don't know if he was letting someone by, but he's a good amount of time behind Little Al.
Yes,
he's slowing down.
Ray is definitely slowing down. Something's not right. Having some kind of an issue.
It's always a shame when we are so close to the end of the race.
Oh, he tried a move on Little Al at turn 1 and he spun.
Probably a flat spot or a blown tire.
Hey guys, I'm back.
Oh, here comes Jakes. He's looking for a way to get by. It's not going to happen at this chicane, but he is definitely... He is so close to overtaking. Well, he had a bit of a bad exit there from that corner. So, Tiago...
Yeah, but they are now closing in on Pascal Mikula. Eh?
Well, yeah, because Pascal's basically... He's taking it slow
this
at this
should
point.
Be aware, because I mean they shouldn't be really fighting that much now. But I know that Jakes will be looking at the chance of overtaking Gabriele when they are with Pascal. And
yeah, it's going to get really crazy.
Hot soon because they are really catching him up very quickly here.
Yeah, there's Pascal just ahead of them. Tiago, real quickly. Sorry that you're.
In the middle.
Whoa! That was Oscar Hardwick.
It looked like he had no front wing, so he's had contact with a barrier somewhere.
He has, so he's going to have to go to the pits for that. I think Oscar's got the record in this race for the most pit stops. Jakes really has a lurid moment of oversteer coming out of the chicane now into the hairpin. He's trying to
in the middle of the track. That's a problem for the cars coming now.
Yeah, he's trying to. Did you see there how? Jakes tried to square off the hairpin to get the best acceleration out of it. Coming now
right
out of the
nearest rear wing.
Oh goodness, this is fantastic stuff as they come into the final corner. Oh man, ooh. Jakes again. Oh goodness, I think. Oh, well, he had contact there. It appears. Let's do it. Let's look at a replay of that. I believe he contacted the wall.
Yeah, okay. The car is not working out
yes,
here.
He did contact. It was. Yeah, he's damaged the car now, unfortunately.
We certainly gave it a hot red go.
And meanwhile, now Del Piccolo is right with Pascal Mikola, so we'll see what happens here as we are working lap 67. We have 67, 68, and 69. So when we come by this time, there'll be 2 laps to go. Del Piccolo right with Pascal Mikola is, oh goodness, very close to touching tires into the chicane. Del Piccolo is definitely sensing a possibility to get back his second place.
By looks of things, it's a question of when rather than if.
It's a bit of a dangerous situation because Oscar Hardwick is rolling to the pit. It's very close now, but cars are coming very quick.
He does a good job.
Oscar getting out of the way.
Yes, but it's, well, he's already there now.
Oh, Piccolo makes a mistake and goes into the pits. I don't think he intended to do that. Is he going to roll through and just keep going?
Yes, he does.
Yes, he rolls through. He was gonna. He had 2 choices there: either hit the barrier or go through the pit lane. And now he's got David Jakes back with him again. So, my goodness, Pascal still in second place as a result of that. What a break for him.
Yeah, he can call himself really lucky because, like I said, these guys need to work together if they want that position. Now Gabriel is coming also very quick again, but it's lap 68, so Grant Riddle is now heading on the hairpin, accelerating for lap 69, and this should be the last one.
The next one is he's on the second to last lap now, and after he crosses the line, it'll be 1 lap to go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's in lap 68, and when he crosses this, that will be his last lap. because he will be on the 69, no?
Mm-hmm. Yep. One lap to go for Grant
One
Ridal.
lap to go now.
Yes.
Gabriele is quickly catching up again, so it will be a last lap attempt from Gabriele here to get up into second.
Oh, Pascal's definitely fighting that car. Coming into the last turn. This has been a really fantastic race.
He nearly missed it there, but
yes.
That yellow flag is because Oscar Hardwick just came out of the pits. Whenever a car comes out of the pits, it gives you that yellow flag.
Oscar continuing on.
And now Gabriele must be very careful because he needs to set up the pass properly. He will
and look at this.
Chance.
Coxon is right with Dave Miller. Coxon right with Dave Miller, so there's a chance here that he might be able to improve his position as they're...
Gabriele approaching there very cautiously. He tries to move. Pascal blocks on the inside.
Miller has a really difficult exit from that corner as they come down to the next chicane.
Does he have him now?
Coxon is right with him.
Yes, he does.
Oh, Miller goes into the grass. This is a golden opportunity for Coxon. As he gets alongside, Coxon goes into 5th place. Miller drops to 6th.
Whoa, and Del Piccolo, look at that.
Del Piccolo, right?
Must have made the gear.
Must have made gear. Oh my goodness, Del Piccolo right with Pascal Micola as they come down to the final corner. And I'm sure that this means... Oh goodness, look at them on the inside. Oh goodness. Very close.
He should have a run. He should have a run.
Yeah, he's going to have a run coming down to the line. Del Piccolo down the inside. No. Oh goodness.
Well, there was some tough blocking there.
The race is over, and Del Piccolo is going to finish in 3rd. Pascal Micola 2nd. 1st place, Grant Ridal has won the Molson Grand Prix du Canada. I'm sure he's absolutely thrilled. Pascal 2nd. Gabriel is 3rd. David Jakes ends up in 4th. Coxon with that great last lap pass, 5th place. Dave Miller finishes in 6th, the final point scoring position. 7th for Richard Wiltz. 8th for Alberto Aquino. 9th for Ray Ridal. 10th, Brian Janik after a very, very unfortunate start.
Late race retirement for Anderson.
That's too bad. Anders out of the race in 11th. 12th, Oscar Hardwick in his ISO debut. Great race for him. 13th, Thiago Canola. 14th, Mick Chapman. 15th, these are all retirements. Timo Vermeersch. 16th, K.O. McShields. 17th, Bruno Chacon. 18th, Victor Alcacer. 19th, Adam Hackman. 20th, Tim Hilla. 21st, David Saber. 22nd, Juha Boss. And our first retirement was Francois Remen.
Anders had a brake failure on the second to last lap there.
Oh, no.
Car just wouldn't stop and it went straight ahead into the second chicane.
All right, so that was the Molson Grand Prix du Canada. Your thoughts, gentlemen?
Oof. There will be no Christmas letter either between Gabriele Del Piccolo and Pascal Micola, from what I'm seeing.
So how do you analyze that coming together there?
Well, the first thing that I would say about this Grand Prix, and I'm happy to say, is that Grant Ridal seems to have got the hang of these cars. I mean, we all were expecting him from the very beginning of the season to be there, and now he has been able to really shine. I mean, he already said it once he had 2 or 3 abandonments that this was, well, for him, a nice challenge. I mean, for a change, it was the mod who got him instead of him who owned the mod. And what a comeback. He has been really able to show his quality. And then, well, you've got Pascal Micola again scoring top points, but we'll see, because it wouldn't surprise me that Gabriel is going to protest this. Gabriele also finally gets the reward of a podium. And for David Jacks, even if it wasn't a podium, I think it was quite a nice result to be able to finish and to go for a top 5. Richard Coxon saved everything, I think, thanks to this 5th position. So he can be also happy. Same as Dave Miller, who got at least a 1 point there.
I think we're also going to see a telescoping of the point standings after this race, because, as you mentioned, Coxon finished 5th, but that only nets him 2 points. And a lot of the drivers that are in arrears of him did better this time out, so it's going to be good for the championship. We don't have anybody in the green room yet.
No, but we have.
Here's Dave Miller.
And we
user was moved to your channel.
And we also already have both Thiago and Timo in the booth with us as well.
Dave Miller just entering the booth. Dave, you finished 6th there. A very late race pass by Richard Coxon. Tell us about your race. How did you fare in the Williams Renault?
Put way too much wing on it. I had a massive brake failure in testing, so I was trying to prevent that. But I think I went a bit too far the other way.
Well, that can happen. It's really hard to gauge how a car is going to do over a full race distance, even though you've done a lot of testing. But that's another point in your championship score. So good job there. We also have the Lotus team in the booth of Timo and Thiago.
User joined your channel.
How are you, gentlemen, after this race? I mean, I know that one of you had an engine failure. That was Timo, I believe. Thiago, we tried to get comments from you earlier, but we kept getting interrupted by action on the track. What was the cause of your retirement?
Engine failure, too.
So 2 Judds failing in a row. So you guys got to get on the horn with Judd and ask them to maybe work a weekend and come up with better engines for you guys.
Yep. Yeah, I'll let Timo do it because he's the boss.
Joined your channel.
You're the number 11 car.
Mm-hmm. We're also joined by Pascal Mikola, who finished 2nd. That was a very hair-raising last lap, Pascal.
Yeah, I hit the wall a couple of laps before, and I bent my rear suspension. It was basically Monaco all over again, with the only difference being that, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is, you drive a little bit faster there than in Monaco. And yeah, that was a little bit exciting in not the best way. And yeah, I had to really be careful in the last chicane. I had to go really slow through the last chicane, or I would have kissed the wall again. And yeah. And in that sense, I understand that the car I was racing didn't quite let me pass after the finish then, and tried to take me out. But I think in the end, I think my race in that way changed on lap, 20-something. So,
yeah, we saw that incident with KO. It looked as if he missed a gear and just caught you by surprise. Is that a fair assessment of what happened?
No.
No.
No, not at all.
No, what would you say was the cause of that incident?
What I would say was simply lack of practice on his end. Yeah, I'm not going to go too deep into that because this is not the place to discuss it. But
no, and I also saw that. And so I think that this is one of
judgment.
those situations where you have to see the replay first, because it's one thing to see it from the cockpit coming out with limited vision, and a very different one when seeing from above. Keio did in general a very good job all over the whole race, and I think there was a bit of misunderstanding there. He went a bit to the left, and you were doing the same, but somehow there was a bit of misunderstanding. You better watch the replay and then think about it.
There was also just no room, and well, I don't know. I don't want to take too harsh of a stance on that one, but that basically changed the whole game for me. And had I not hit the wall a couple of laps from the end, I would have probably been able to challenge Grant for the win. That would have been exciting.
Grant was doing very quick lap times. I mean, you were closing in on him, but there were really very few laps left.
Yeah, unlikely. But, well, I can still dream, can't
I? Yeah.
All right, so the next round for this championship is in Mexico, I believe. Any thoughts on those from those of you in the booth on that particular round?
That's gonna be a fun drive with the Judd power in the Lotus we have.
Is that sarcasm or is it?
It's a very long straight with no power at all.
Yeah, it's true. The other thing about Mexico is it has lots of bumps, so it'll favor cars that have the best suspension compliance.
I would say for Mexico, the bumps kind of indicate for me that I want to look at my Phoenix setup. But the fact that, what Timo said, or I don't know who just said it, I didn't pay attention, but with the long straight, I think I might want to run flat wings. Because in the end, the V10, the Honda that I have, doesn't have the most power either. And I got a harsh reality check today when I was racing Gabriela in the earlier-ish stages, because turns out that there's a 40 horsepower difference between the Honda V10 and the Ford HB, and I felt that.
I feel that every race.
Would you mind switching with the Honda, Thiago?
Okay, the Honda isn't that bad. I'm not going to give that away. don't even.
Well, if the race was made in reverse gear, in backwards direction, I guess the Lotus would be on the pole.
Well, one other thing quickly to take into consideration for Mexico is that with that long straight, many drivers will probably choose to, as Pascal alluded to, running low wing, but that will make it a bit tricky on the twisty sections, and whoever can make mechanical grip out of the car while trading with a trade-off of low wing will probably succeed there.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, actually. Those who can get away on the twisty bits, they're going to get eaten up on the long straight, and vice versa.
And then there's that very, very, very long, very, very fast right-hander just before the long straight.
Yes.
You don't want to lose control there.
I don't know how you're going to do that without wings.
Yeah, it's a tough. You don't get much help with the banking there either. It's pretty flat going through there. So.
Yeah, in the end, it turns out, I think the best course of action is, just start practicing. The more practice, the better.
All right, so before we go, real quickly, let's take a look again at what's coming up at ISO. This week we have Tin Top Racing, Malala Motorsport Park, rounds 11 and 12 of 16 of the Australian Super Touring Championship, 1997 edition. That's Wednesday, March 25th. Next Sunday, we go back USAC Racing, the Trentonian 200 kidney bean-shaped track, right and left turns. And that's round 4 of 13, Sunday, March 29th. Jonathan, will you be broadcasting this race?
The Trentonians? I certainly hope so, unless anything crops up that I can't do anything about.
Okay.
I will be there.
Excellent. And then we have the second round of the Lucas Vidra Trophy coming up. It's the 1997 AMP Bathurst 1000 asterisk. It's actually 500, but that'll be an excellent race, and that will be broadcast live as well. So I'd like to thank my broadcast partners for this race, Alberto Ibañez and Jonatan Acerclinth. It was a real treat to have you both in the booth. Thank you for your expertise and your enthusiasm, and I hope everybody at home enjoyed watching this epic race. So next Sunday we go back oval racing, and then later on we'll have the Mexican Grand Prix at some point. But anyway, for Alberto Ibañez and Jonatan Acerclinth, this is Jason White saying so long from Ile Notre Dame in Montreal.